Okay, we'll get started. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out today. My name is Marie Sutton, and I serve as a Public Information Officer for the City of Birmingham. Today we'll have our public safety press event. Here's a list of our speakers. We'll start with Scott Thurman, who is the Chief of Birmingham Police Department, Richard Kelly, Associate Director of Operations for U.S. Marshals Service, Martin Keeley, who is a U.S. Marshal, Frank Bearfield, who is Chairman of Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama, and then Rodarius Malden, Deputy Chief, Birmingham Police Department. We will allow a brief Q&A afterwards, and at this time, we'll bring up Police Chief Scott Thurman. Thank you.
So good morning. On behalf of Mayor Randall Woodfin, I'd like to welcome each of you here today. I'd like to discuss with you an initiative that we began back in April of this year. And if, as law enforcement, we're always continuously looking at how to strategize, how to be more effective in what we do, and how to provide a safer environment for all our citizens and community members. So we looked at, in forecasting ahead of, we usually know that there are certain months in the summer, and the summer months, because it's warmer, we usually see an uptick in crime in the city of Birmingham. And in doing that, I convened a meeting with, and I contacted U.S. Marshal Marty Keeley, who's the U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Alabama, coordinated with some of his members, Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force Commander Chad Hunt, and also U.S. Marshal Jonathan Prell. And as doing that, we formulated a plan on to how to combat crime in the city of Birmingham during the summer months. In doing that, we wanted to target those who are the most prolific violent offenders, if you will. In doing that, we created a list of those offenders. We compiled a number of law enforcement personnel and resources to kick this initiative off. And in doing that, I want to just give some of the results of that initiative thus far. So thus far, there have been 121 felony arrests. There have been 20 illegal firearms seized. 23 of those arrests were for the crime of homicide. 21 arrests were for the crime of robbery. 22 arrests were for sexual offenses, and 17 were for aggravated assault. And so one thing I want everybody to stop and think about, if those individuals had been allowed to be on the streets of Birmingham, what would have crime been like if they had been allowed to continue to do what they do every day? And so in conjunction with all of us working together, I honestly believe this had an impact on the safety of the citizens of Birmingham. And this group of people behind me, and not all of them are law enforcement, we have people from city government, state representatives, all of us working together, we can come up with ideas and plans to reduce violence in our city. And one of the things that we just discussed was you can't arrest your way out of everything. There's some other things that have to take place in order for us to provide a safer city, a safer environment for everyone. And so this group and many, many others in city government here in the city of Birmingham are committed to doing that. But as one of my colleagues said in the meeting, it takes time. We didn't get here overnight, and unfortunately, we're not going to get out of this overnight. But I just really want to, and part of this initiative, what we find is we go to make an arrest of an individual, and we find other illegal things there, whether it be firearms, narcotics. Well, in compiling the members of this group that work together, we had people on site who could take it to the next level, whether that was referring prosecution to District Attorney Danny Carr or Lenise Washington's office, or referring things to the U.S. Attorney's Office with U.S. Attorney Prim Escalona, to take things to the next level, to get the most bang for our buck, if you will, to hold these people accountable and get them off the streets of our city and make our city a safer place. So I just want to really thank them for that. Everybody here was just extremely gracious when we came up with this idea. Everybody has worked very hard in putting this into effect. I believe it's been extremely successful. This effort is still ongoing. But there's also another piece that we haven't talked about yet, and it's Crime Stoppers. A lot of times, I was on the Marshals Task Force many, many years ago, and so a lot of times when we go to make those arrests, maybe the individual we're looking for is not there. So we tell the individuals they're there, hey, we're looking for person A. If you would, give us a call, or better yet, call Crime Stoppers. Call this anonymous number, remain anonymous, you can qualify for an award, and we can still be able to make our arrests. And so this year, the number of tips that are coming to Crime Stoppers is very high. The number of arrests that have been able to be made because of the tips that are coming in is very, very high. We must continue that. We must continue to have that in community engagement in order for us to get these this small percentage of people causing a lot of havoc on our city. So I'll turn it over to our next speaker, Rick Kelly. Rich Kelly.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of United States Marshal Service Director Ronald Davis, I'm here to offer the continued commitment of the entire agency to United States Marshal Martin Keeley and the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force to continue their partnership to try to solve a very complex problem, which is violent crime here in the city of Birmingham, Alabama, and through extension across the United States. We understand that we are in no position to do it alone, but as part of a leveraged effort across all of state and local law enforcement, we hope to be able to begin to make a dent in this, and certainly we're reliant on the people who best understand this problem, which is our presidentially appointed marshal, as well as the people that he partners with. So again, we thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yes, I just want to mention a few things, or go over a few things that Chief Thurman mentioned. We met back in April early, and Chief gave me a call, and he asked us to join him in addressing violent crime in the community. We met, and we developed a strategy on how to move forward over the summer, and we took that strategy and that plan to Mayor Randall Woodfin and presented it to him. The U.S. Attorney Prim Escalona also attended that meeting. And the mayor did approve the plan, and through the discussion we had, we felt that it was also very important to engage the community in this discussion, because violent crime is not just a law enforcement problem. And if we're going to solve it, we've got to solve it as a community. So many of the individuals that you see standing behind me this morning are individuals for the community. And I want to thank the mayor's staff for the outstanding job they did in organizing this meeting. We had an outstanding discussion for about an hour and 15 minutes from our community leaders, and I think some very positive things will come out of this. And what we have to do now is continue the work that we started, continue the law enforcement work that we're doing. And as was previously mentioned, this doesn't stop today. This is not the end of our effort. Our effort is ongoing. It's continuing at this very moment. So our deputies, our task force officers, the officers from the City of Birmingham, they're on the streets at this very moment, doing everything they can to reduce violent crime and take the individuals responsible for violent crime off the street. Not sure who was next. Frank.
Thank you. As the chief mentioned, we accept anonymous tips from the public, provide those tips to law enforcement, and for those tips that result in an arrest, a felony arrest, we pay a reward. We have no idea who's giving us these tips, so everyone always remains anonymous. And we have no way to give out email addresses or telephone numbers. Just the first 6 months of this year, these tips have helped us with making law enforcement arrest 157 felonies and 454 felony cases. So when you annualize that, you're talking about 300 felony arrests and 900 felony cases cleared. That's almost 1,000, and that's because of the tips that the public is providing. And hopefully the public will have the confidence in Crime Stoppers to know that they're totally anonymous and we can't provide their information to anyone, so they'll never have to testify or be put at risk for people that they may be turning in. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to first echo the sentiments of everybody that came before me and offer thank you to the City of Birmingham's leadership. With the police department, we would like to say a sincere thank you to everybody that's standing behind us on today. Today is what progress looks like when we're fighting the efforts to fight violent crime in the City of Birmingham. When you have progress that is made, such as today, we're looking at a collaborative and a cohesive effort amongst everybody. These efforts have been strengthened over the course of the last 3 years, and we just want to say our sincere thank you and appreciation to everybody who supports us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we will open it up for question and answer.
Chief, does this initiative, good party have a name? And also, how is it, I mean, y'all have had a long partnership with the U.S. Marshals. What's different about this?
So really, we just looked at, forecasting ahead of, and it's something the mayor challenges and he should challenge us to do as leaders of specific departments of the city. What can we do, or what are we constantly strategizing? What are we doing to bring in initiatives or start initiatives that are going to have a reduction in crime in the city of Birmingham? And so, just where we've had success in the past, I look back through my career where we've had success before is getting offenders off the street before they can continue to reoffend. Well, I know that the people who make the arrests and who are the best at making those arrests are our partners at the U.S. Marshal Service. So that's why I reached out to them, and that's the ongoing initiative that we now have and that we're bringing to your attention today.
Does it have a name or?
Not at this point in time.
And can you restate what you said about the homicide arrest?
Just a number, or so there have been 23 homicide suspects arrested for homicide during this operation.
In what period of time?
So the initiative, the first surge, as far as the arresting phase, began May 10th, and it's still ongoing as of today. So we started arresting people on May 10th. There were several phases to this. So the first phase was, who are we going to target? Who has outstanding warrants? And then working with some of our other parts of our department and our other partners of who are our problematic people who are causing the violence in our city.
So 23 homicide arrests in that short period, that's almost half of what you typically average in a year.
Well, some would be not all for the city of Birmingham. Some may a warrant could be issued from another jurisdiction. But that person, what we see a lot of times, and that's the great thing about working with our partners at the Marshal Service, we may have someone from another state who's here who's committed a murder in another state. Well, if they committed one there, what are they going to do in our city? So we want to get those people off the streets, get our victims some justice, get some peace for our community members. It's a lot bigger picture. So there could have been some warrants issued by Jefferson County Sheriff's Office or other municipalities as well.
I misunderstood. I thought
Yeah.
it was 23 cases cleared since May, which,
Well, they are, but they weren't all those cases were not initiated by the Birmingham Police Department. But those people are in our target area.
right.
Chief, can you break down the day-to-day of an operation like this? I know there's been several phases to this, but just give us a better idea of what some of your officers and different agencies are doing day-to-day in this collaborative effort.
Well, a lot of it is just everyone here talking. We're all fighting the same fight. And we all talk together and share our information and resources. We can have a big impact. And that's what happened here. 121 felony arrests in a short period of time had a big impact. So there's a lot of research, a lot of collaborative information that has to be shared. There's a lot of research that's been done as who we're going to target, where might they be, things of that nature.
Is there any overlap between this and the Glock switch operation, or?
Well, there were some Glock switches that were seized during this operation. So that's when our partners, the U.S. attorneys, often get those referrals, and then they try to make those cases from there. Yep.
Chief, how closely is social media being monitored as you guys try to track down some of these perpetrators?
Well, that is one thing that we definitely all use, whether it's using our real-time crime center, Jefferson County uses it in their MAC center, our federal partners use that as well, because anything we can do to help find those individuals and hold them accountable for the crimes that they have warrants for, we want to do that. So it is something that we use.
Here's why I ask. There's video circulating, and I have it on my phone. Birmingham War Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. And some of it's disturbing. And you guys would know if it's legitimate or not. And I was just wanting to know if you were aware of these kinds of videos in the subject matter.
I have seen some of them. I haven't seen those per se, but I have seen some of those in the past, yes.
So what happens when you see those? How do you proceed?
Well, we have to try and identify the legitimacies, as you mentioned.
Right.
Is it something that's been made for social media? Is it real? Who are the potential people in it? What crimes were committed? Can you prove that in a court of law?
Right.
There's a lot of research that goes into. People think, well, I saw this. Why didn't you go arrest them immediately? There's a little bit more to the puzzle than that.
But wouldn't some things be recognizable to your department? You guys are investigating. You would be able to identify the legitimacy of maybe some of what they're saying, the dates, the times, the locations?
We use that in those investigations, yes. Yep.
Understanding that there's progress that has been made through this initiative, we just got out of a really deadly month for our city. How is this initiative being utilized in those newer cases?
So, we constantly collaborate with our federal partners. How can we get the most bang for our buck, if you will? How can we hold those people the most accountable that we potentially can? And then two, the Birmingham Police Department has a lot of resources, but we don't have all of them. There's not many local police departments that do. But if we leverage our resources with the Marshal Service, our other federal partners, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, together, we can get to where we need to be. It just takes some time a lot of times. And so it's leveraging all your resources together to make the best product, if you will.
Another part of public safety in Birmingham, we have a lot of interstates, and there have been interstate shootings. How is this partnership initiative being utilized to catch the people who are involved in those or prevent those types of shootings?
Most of the shootings that we've seen that have occurred in the city of Birmingham were actually targeted. They weren't random. So there lies another issue. They were targeted. It wasn't just someone passing through an interstate who was shot. We work those crimes just like we would any other shooting or homicide.
Chief, wanted to ask you, the 121 felony arrests, are those Birmingham City proper, more the Birmingham area, including all of them?
So it's the metro area. A lot of those were in the city of Birmingham, but some it did extend beyond the city of Birmingham. Some extended where it could have been a warrant was initiated here in Jefferson County or Birmingham, but the fugitive was located in another state. And so it could be that an arrest was made there, but it tied back to a crime that occurred here in Birmingham. So it's a combination of all of that. Or it could have been, like I said earlier, someone who committed a crime in another state, but we're targeting them here and they're arrested here in Birmingham or the metro area. So it's just a combination of things.
The homicide rate being up about at least 15% over the same time last year, what more needs to be done as far as this collaborative effort?
Well, I'll tell you this. This group is going to continue to do everything it can to not only reduce crime and hold those accountable, and that's what we were challenged with. But like I said earlier, there's also other pieces to the puzzle. Someone just didn't probably wake up today and decide they wanted to be a criminal. There's some things that led up to that. And so can some things be put in the communities to prevent that, to help those getting released from our prisons and things, to give them a better start? And so that's part of the conversation that we had earlier. We can arrest people all day long, but that door sometimes is revolving. Does that really fix the problem? And so holistically, that doesn't solve the overall large picture or problem. So we've got to look at what are some other pieces that we can add for a permanent solution. And those are some of the things that we talked about earlier.
One more question.
I got a question. I'm a numbers guy. Frank, you talked about the Crime Stopper arrest numbers. How does that compare to years past? You said 157 felony arrests, 450 felony cases made the first 6 months of this year. How does that compare to years past?
It is, in 6 months, the last 6 months, we've actually done more than the previous year.
Combined?
Well, when you look at 12 months of 2023, that's less than we have done in the previous 6-month period. And it has to do with people, if you see something, say something. And people need to understand that law enforcement is the responsibility of all citizens to report things to the police so that the police can take action. And we're seeing more of that right now.